Member for Corangamite.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Small business is the backbone of our nation. There are some 2 million small businesses across Australia and well in excess of 20,000 across the Corangamite and Geelong regions. As I spoke about in my first speech in this place, more than 80% of these businesses are operated by sole traders or those who have less than 5 employees. They need to be supported by policies which allow them to thrive and grow and employ our next generation of Australians. The issue is, Mr Deputy Speaker, the market share of the big players, particularly in the supermarket and appliance sectors, are to a large degree crushing small business. Nowhere else in the world do two supermarket chains dominate as they do in Australia. Woolworths and Coles have a combined 72.5% of the $82 billion grocery sector. Mr Deputy Speaker, our root and branch review of competition law, chaired by Professor Ian Harper, is one of the important steps we are taking to stand up for the engine room of our economy. Whether it's the abolition of the carbon tax extending unfair contract protections to small business or the Harper Review, our government has had the courage to ask the hard questions, to fight the status quo and to stand up for small business. Frankly, Mr Deputy Speaker, major reform is required. In December last year, Coles admitted, after denying any wrongdoing, that it had engaged in unconscionable conduct by demanding rebates and other payments from suppliers. In essence, Coles was engaging in a form of corporate blackmail, as I call it. If suppliers did not pay these arbitrary gap payments, the implicit threat was that they would be cut off and essentially destroyed. The ACCC is seeking $10 million in penalties and further payments to repay the suppliers. I fully commend the ACCC and its chair, Rod Sims, for commencing proceedings against Coles. But, Mr Deputy Speaker, for most small businesses, litigation is not possible. When subjected to such market abuses, they have neither the capacity nor the resources to fight back. One of the biggest issues killing so many small businesses, particularly in rural and regional Australia, is anti-competitive price discrimination. Time and time again, small and independent operators tell me they simply can't compete on price. In some cases, the big players are retailing goods at a price less than the independent owner can access at wholesale. Small businesses want and deserve a level playing field. Mr Deputy Speaker, up until 1995, price discrimination was prohibited under Section 49 of the Trade Practices Act. This meant that a supplier could not sell to a buyer at higher prices unrelated to economies of scale. This meant that small businesses could not be sent to the wall by duopolies such as the supermarkets intent on destroying them. In some sectors now, the pricing gap is so large, around 15 to 30%, that it allows the large 2 or 3 operators to sell profitably all day at prices below the cost to operate of all other competitors, thereby ensuring the eventual demise of the competitive marketplace. Over a period of some 20 years, we've seen anti-competitive price discrimination gradually send businesses to the wall. That's why every OECD country in the world, other than Australia and New Zealand, has express legislation to prevent this abuse. Mr Deputy Speaker, a healthy, competitive market is good for jobs and good for families. It helps small businesses thrive, country towns prosper and keeps prices down. That's why the decision to repeal the prohibition on anti-competitive price discrimination made by the Keating government needs to be re-examined. Mr Deputy Speaker, the Harper Review in its draft report has not gone down this path, relying on the more general provision relating to abuse of market power. But, Mr Deputy Speaker, for the sake of jobs and for small business, in my submission it needs to. Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker.
Will the honourable member